Okay, welcome everybody to Make Art Feel Better. This is a mini visual journaling workshop that where I want to take you through a short visual journaling exercise and give you a little creative pep talk in between. Of course, my dogs just started barking the minute I start talking. But what we're going to explore today is your creative dream. And I want to underline and add another word, your current creative dream, because our creative dreams and desires shift and change as we go through life and things in our life, and we shift and change. So we're going to be exploring that today. We'll be doing some visual journaling together. And what's really cool is when we visual journal, you'll be able to access your own inner wisdom and imagination. And that is really the gift and beauty that visual journaling can give to you, because I'm not going to give you any advice. No one here in the workshop is going to give you any advice. Your wisdom and ideas and forward momentum comes through the practice and the process of what comes through your visual journal. So we really visual journal with intention. It's not about making a pretty picture on the page, but I think of this more like a guidebook. I'll get into that in a second. A guidebook written by your own spirit, your soul, your own inner wisdom, to help you make progress toward where you're going. So all you're going to need for today, by the way, don't panic about visual journaling. If you are just showing up here to see what the heck we're doing, all you need is a notebook and something to write with. If you're on my mailing list or you happen to read the email, I did send out a short suggested supply list, but don't worry if you don't have those. Hopefully we'll get a recording and you can come back and do some of the visual parts of the visual journaling with the recording. And you might want to rewatch the recording anyway, even if you're here live. So don't worry, we're going to do some written journaling, and then I'll show you what you can do next, even if you don't have any art supplies with you right now. Okay, let me introduce myself really quick, especially for those of you who are new here. My name's Lisa Sonora, and I'm the founder of Visual Journal Studio. And as a visual artist and author, creative entrepreneur, and former art therapist, I am here to help you make art and feel better, whatever that looks like to you. That is my mission. And that's what this workshop is all about. I have lots of videos and articles available on this subject on my website, which is visualjournalstudio.com. And another quick note to let you know is that this year in December is my 20th anniversary of publishing online. So that was when my first blog came out 20 years ago. So it's 20 years celebrating sharing visual journaling online. Before I shared it online, I taught it for a really long time. And yeah, sharing it publicly, putting a website together was a big creative dream that I had that I was terrified to do at the time, back in 2002. By the way, I always get super nervous doing these workshops, even though I've done them for so long, but it's like stage fright or something like, and some of you are interested in facilitating this work. And I just want to say that, and I'm going to say this to myself too, the reason we get nervous about sharing with other people or presenting or doing anything online, I think it comes down to we just really care a lot about other people and we want them to have an awesome experience. So that's something to bring to the party. And we don't have to do it perfectly. That's another takeaway. And speaking of takeaways, the first thing you could do in your notebook or journal is write the numbers 1 through 3, 1, 2, 3. And these are 3 takeaways that you're asking your brain to look for you while you participate, while you go about watching, listening. These 3 takeaways are, it could be something you want to remember. It could be an aha moment. And so writing down numbers 1, 2, 3, it's going to help you pay attention on a kind of subconscious level to what's going on here, consciously too. But also you're just letting your brain know in advance, hey, there's something here for me, and what is it going to be? It's going to be unique for every person. 3 takeaways. One of them could be, oh, you could be teaching workshops for decades and still be terrified and do it anyway. I hope that's soothing to somebody. Okay, are you guys ready to do some journaling? And by the way, just to give you an overview of, hold on, I'm gonna plug in, I need to plug in my laptop. Let me do that, I'll be right back. Okay. Yeah, so you guys are ready. Just to give you an overview of what we're doing, I think the visual journaling workshop part will last about an hour-ish. If you have to leave early, that's cool. Hopefully we'll have a recording for you to catch up on. And I also want to leave some space at the end of the workshop for people to share their experience or ask questions of me. I'll also tell you about the upcoming Creative Immersion that happens. I'm combining the Creative Immersion. It includes the facilitator training. Lots of people in here have done that with me before, and they may be joining again as an alumni this year. But I'll answer some questions about that and give you the link to where you can go find that workshop online when we finish. But I feel like it's really hard to write kind of a sales page, if you will, about visual journal workshops, or even talk about it in print, because it's such a hard thing to explain to people. And I think the magic really happens when you get to experience it for yourself. And that's why I do weekly workshops with people in the immersion and sometimes with my other classes. But once you experience it for yourself, it kind of tells you everything you need to know. And I think that's why my students keep coming back year after year, after year, after year to do this again and again and again, because it's something that's really helpful to them. So that's why I want you to have this experience of it, a taster, if you will, if you're brand new. And so you'll get a sense of how we work together and how, what my teaching style is like. But we meet together every week on Zoom, just like we're doing here. Okay. But often with less technical difficulties, I will say. Of course, when I'm doing a little showcase, it's going to be bad. Okay, so we're going to start out with doing some quick writes. And these are just quick journaling. We're going to do like a few minutes of journaling. And a quick write means you just want to kind of blurt out whatever is in your mind and get it onto the page. I'll give you a prompt to start with. If it doesn't resonate for some reason, you don't have to keep doing it. But if you write down the prompt when I give it to you, and then your pen will be poised there wondering what to say about that prompt. Instead of waiting for that inspiration, just keep writing the prompt over and over a couple times until something starts flowing to you. And you can do your writing in your visual journal for those of you who are here, or you can write it in a separate notebook. It doesn't really matter. There's a whole lot of different ways to do visual journaling. So a lot of times we write things and then paint over them, but I just want you to know that this writing is just for your own information. I'm not going to ask anyone to share their writing. You're not going to post it anywhere. There is an element of trust and safety about the way I teach visual journaling, which is we don't share this kind of stuff And when we have permission to keep our visual journal private, anything goes. So let me get to our prompt. Okay, so the first prompt is just to quickly jot down. It could be a list, it could be sentences, it could be a mind map, however you want to do this. My current creative dream is. My current creative dream is. And I would say underline current, because we're not going to go drag an old one out. What's the current creative dream? And we'll just go for a few minutes on this. Okay, bring this current piece to a place where you can pick it up later, if you wish. Hope everything got something. It looks like everyone's been writing. And by the way, just to let you know, I am doing the visual journaling along with you, including the journaling. And that's part of how I was trained as a facilitator by some of my teachers, is to take the same risks that my students are taking. So I'm doing this with you. I have the lesson planned out, but I never know what's going to happen, just like you, until my pen or pencil hits the page. Okay, so now we're going to explore this creative dream, this current creative dream you wrote down. We'll do a kind of imagination exercise, and then we'll do a little bit more writing. So what I want you to imagine is that it's May 1st or May 3rd, 2023. So that's next spring. May 1st is the day after the Creative Immersion ends, which is 6 months and starts in November. But 6 to 7, 8 months from now, imagine that you've made really awesome progress or have completed or achieved this creative dream, this current creative dream. And imagine what that would look like. And it can help just to close your eyes and imagine it for a second. And if your dream has multi-components and it's big, pick one aspect of it where you feel like, oh, I've successfully done this. I finally did it. What would that look like? What would be different in your life experience if that were so? If you made this progress, what would that look like? And just jot down a few ideas that come to mind. And you might, like, this prompt might be titled, I totally did it. What's different? I totally did it. Okay, so this idea of what's different, you can always fill in, come back and add more to this, and things will probably be percolating long after this workshop, maybe later tonight, or you'll wake up tomorrow with some fresh ideas about what is different now that you've made some progress or accomplished something with this current creative dream. Okay. There's 2 more things to look at here. We've got what's different in your experience, but considering that experience, try to feel into as best you can okay, this is different. I wrote down some things and I'm always surprised by what comes out because I don't know in advance. And I was like, oh my goodness, well, that's wonderful. So looking back at this short list of things that are different, the next step is to notice, how do they make you feel? And just jot down some feeling words. I feel. These will be emotions that you write down, and they can just be words. Okay, now that you've got some feelings, the other thing to tune into with those new feelings and this new experience are your new thoughts. And at first it can seem like, oh, my thoughts about my experience and my feelings are the same, but they are quite distinct once we start noticing them. This is a lot of what we do in my workshops and trainings. So a new feeling might be calm. That's one of the ones I wrote down. A new thought could be, wow, that was so easy, right? So you want to kind of feel into these new feelings and review that list of experiences. What's different? And what are your new thoughts about yourself and your work from that perspective? Okay, I'm going to give you guys one more. You can always come back and fill in the blanks, fill in some more detail later. So now we're going to come back to current reality, where we are right now. And think about this current creative dream that hasn't yet happened, that we're desiring, and jot down a few notes. What's been in the way? So for a lot of us, we can have creative dreams change a little bit, but they can also stay the same for a really long time. Like, for example, wanting to write a book or wanting to create a body of work, or, wanting to finally be painting the paintings we've always wanted to paint. So what's been in the way? And I'll give you all three parts of this, and we'll just take a few minutes to get these down. So this current reality, why do you think things are that? Why haven't you done this yet? Or what's been in the way? And what you think and feel about this current reality. This is the hard one, but you can do it, and it'll be worth it. It's okay to blame COVID for everything, by the way. Okay. Go ahead and bring your writing to a place where you can pick it up later. Okay. So we're going to get into a visual journaling project next, which I'll explain in a second. But I just want to point out something. I think right now we need a big, I'm picturing a bumper sticker for something, but I had sent this email about saying visual journaling is magic. I don't know what else to call it, but magic alert. What I'm about to say could be your takeaway, but this is where we're talking about magic together. So the space between, so we talked about where we want to go, and we looked at current reality. And when we're able to do that honestly with ourselves, we are sowing some seeds. We are taking responsibility, and in a very empowered way. Yes, a lot of stuff's happened that's been awful and terrible and interfering in life as we know it. That's part of the human condition. But once we start saying, I want to go here, I want to go there, and I'm right here, I have this creative dream, and here's what's been going on, honestly, why I'm not doing it. That is a completely unusual thing to do. You are not being victimized by life. You're taking responsibility for your own experience. And that takes consciousness. It takes courage. And it's kind of rare, really. You know, it takes, because it could be just so much easier to just be like, oh, well, you know, this is how it is and nothing's ever going to change. Here's some good news about where we are, current reality, and where we want to go. And let's just think of that space as the gap in between. It's like a void, you know, it could seem like this big void of like, I can't cross that chasm. It's too big. It's bigger than the Grand Canyon. But the space between current reality and where we want to go, I think of it as this gap or this void. And here's something that I think is kind of radical to consider, which is, you know, usually when we're confronted with that scenario, we think we have to change everything and become a different person, you know, start lifting weights, working out, move, get divorced, whatever we have to do to have it. And what I want to tell you is, okay, don't make any big decisions like that right away. But it's not really an action path that gets us jumping across that void. It's not a leap. It's not like having to change who we are and change circumstances. The big leap, if you will, I think of it as a leap of imagination. That's the big leap. And the action comes down to, and I'll talk about this a little bit more after we do the visual journaling exercise, but the action comes down to very small, almost seemingly significant, doable, simple fundamentals in action, repeated over and over and over again. That's how we get from here to there. We don't get from here to there by like flinging ourselves out the window and trying to fly or something. I know I'm using a lot of different metaphors here, but this is the magic part of visual journaling, because using a visual journal in this way is like creating this guidebook as you're going. You know, unfortunately or fortunately, when we're born, we're not giving a guidebook of our soul. I always wished we would have something like that, like our own owner's manual, like, oh, hi, Lisa, you want to be an artist. Here's how you do it. No, instead, we have to do basically everything except be an artist to get there. And it's like full of detours and turns. It's the hero's journey. Does that sound familiar? Like we're going to be confronted with 1,000 no's and slammed doors and everything when it's something really, really important to us. And that's another reason why I think it's so important to keep your visual journaling process private, because these things that we really want to experience in our creative life or in life in general are things that are really hard to say out loud. If we really, really want them, we're certainly not going to be broadcasting it to the world, but they can be things that are even hard to admit to ourselves. And I feel like there's a sense of sacredness to that. And so to keep it private and keep it a place where you can explore freely with no consequences is going to be really helpful in having you create the most authentic guidebook to your soul that you can. Because the guidebook, as we're doing our inquiry and we're doing the visual journaling, magic part happens is like things bubble up to the surface. I just had that happen in my own written journaling right now, where it was a big aha moment based on this journaling we've done together so far. And so things will bubble up from your visual journal that you can't anticipate, you can't plan, you can't know in advance what the wisdom is or what your next step is. So We can come back to action steps if you want and fundamentals. I think that's a really important distinction. I think there's almost too much emphasis in the world on doing epic things and making big moves that for a sensitive creative spirit, such as many of us are, I am, and I tend to attract students like that, that can be overwhelming and daunting. And so how do we chunk it down into very doable bite-sized pieces consistently? Having weekly accountability with something like a creative immersion can really help. And I also have a smaller version of this I call creative practice, which I do once or twice a year with people for 8 weeks, where we go. It's designed to like help you start taking creative action if you haven't done it for a while. Okay, but like I said, I can get back to that if you have questions or want to talk about that more. But let's do one of my favorite visual journal activities, which is called an image treasure hunt. So some of you brought some collage materials with you. That's great, or some stuff. I'm going to show you what I mean here. I'm going to show you my desk and what I'm working on. If you didn't bring it, just hang out with us or come back and watch the recording. But you can also watch me work. So I'll have the camera on my desk and you'll see how I'm going to put together this visual journal spread. I don't know, it's always different. So let me turn on my extra camera. Okay. Now, so I don't want to share this. Can everyone see my desk, my pretty pens? Good. Okay. So what we're going to do for like the next 15 minutes or so is we're going to go on an image treasure hunt. And this actually might be 10 minutes. I just looked at the time. Let me just show you. So for those of you who have stuff, and I'm going to walk through mine, but for those of you who have stuff, what are you going to look for on this image treasure hunt? Look through the stuff that you brought with you, or what you have, whether it's magazines, collage stuff, scraps, and you want to quickly, and I think 10 minutes is a great timeline for this, quickly pick out the things that give you a super excited yes right now. They don't necessarily have to relate to what we just journaled about, although they might. But I think if you're trying to find things that directly relate to your current creative dream, you'll get into analysis, and we want you to stay in the creative imaginative mode. And I think the best way to do that is just to pick out, if you're looking through magazines, flip through it as fast as you can and just tear out the words or images or colors that give you a feeling of excitement today, this moment, right now. So you might have collage stuff from 10 years ago in your pile. And if it gives you that excited feeling, that's a yes. That goes in your yes pile. We're not cutting anything up. We're not detail cutting anything out. We're not gluing anything down. You don't have to worry about whether or not you'll use it. We just want to create a yes pile first. Okay. And now I'm going to show you. So for those of you who have stuff, feel free to go forth. And everyone else who doesn't have that stuff to work with, let me show you what I have here. Oops. Okay, so I grabbed a pile of stuff so I wouldn't be flying through boxes during the workshop. But what I have here are some paintings out of my sketchbook that I thought I might be attracted to. I also save all of my palette papers and painting scraps. And I like to include my own work in my visual journals. Another thing you can collect are postcards. So I always have lots of postcards of artists. Some of them may want to show up in the sketchbook. If you have photocopies of photos of yourself and your life. Those are great to use too. Words and quotes cut out of books or magazines. And I have, I hope my friend Mio doesn't mind me sharing this, but this is something she put together for me on my birthday last year. She's a student and friend and is into visual journaling. And she created an envelope with all these wonderful curated scraps, collage elements, and it included words and song lyrics and a cafe we went to together, just wonderful things. And I think it's the best type of birthday gift ever, to give yourself or a friend that you know who loves collage, is just collect a few things and put them in a birthday card or envelope for them. So I have these out. These are the ones I haven't used yet. And then I also have images from magazines. So I recommend you collect a whole bunch of full page images, because what we're actually going to be doing in the visual journal from our yes pile is I'm going to show you how to create flaps in your visual journal to cover up your writing. And in a way, what we're going to be doing is creating a type of altar piece inside your visual journal that is an altar to this creative dream. So I'm going to show you all the steps. We're not going to have time to do every single step together, but you'll have all the sequence of steps to do so that you can finish this journal spread on your own. And you'll have this resting place in your notebook or your visual journal, whatever you're using, that you can reflect on and think about, however you would think of using an altar. So I think it's, if you've ever made a vision board before, this is like doing a vision board on steroids, because you've thought through some of these potent questions in your journaling, and now you're adding image to it. So, so here are some of the images from magazines. So what I'm going to do is get a yes pile together. I have even less time than everyone else because I was talking. So I'm going to look at these and make a yes pile, and then I'm going to show you what we'll do next. Okay, so for those of you who were following along with me, this is all the stuff that I collected from my yes pile. And what I can see is that my video is doing a real weird lag thing. So I'm wondering if I don't have enough bandwidth. To find, so it's going to be dependent upon how your was. Okay, I'm back, everybody. So my internet is not cooperating. Shu just said, if participants turn off videos, we lose some community feeling, but gain continuity. Oh, Susan says Mercury starting retrograde. Okay. Okay, well, so what I think I'd like to do is actually invite some of you to ask questions. You can ask me some questions in the chat. And what I could do is either film or photograph this aspect that I was just trying to explain of creating the altar in your visual journal. I'm afraid if I turn on my screen share, it might not work. Okay, never mind. Let me try to just show you on this screen. So what I was saying is, depending on how big your visual journal is, and I've got my writing inside on these pages, but what you're going to do to create the altar part is to find a full page image or two that would span each page. And you're going to trim the image. I have a big bathtub image here. So what I will do is trim this image down to size. And then I would do the same like with this page. Some of those and add them on top of the writing that you did. And if you go ahead and collect your very favorite image, things you like best, the thing you find most aesthetically pleasing, putting those together, then that will create this whole, I'm getting a lot of text messages in here. Then you can use those images. If you picked them from the yes pile and things you're really excited about, it's going to fit in some way with your creative dream. And it's going to be like a puzzle you're putting together where you'll glue one thing down and then it will build and add on top of itself. Like you'll just know the next thing to add to it and the next thing to add. Yeah. So I'm so sorry about the internet connectivity today. It's really bad here. It's not usually this bad. I've never had this type of problem before. However, I think we're just doing our best. And what I would love to do is scroll through my comment, scroll through the chat and see if there's questions. And oh, let me give you the website link. Let me see if I could add the link here for the Creative Immersion. Let's see if I can do that. Okay. I will warn you that so I do all the stuff on my own. The web page I'm still doing a little bit of work on, but I think it's okay to register. That's the link for the Creative Immersion. I just put it in there. I also mentioned my Gramps. Let me type in this word. If you don't want to do the Creative Immersion, but you want to experience my visual journaling workshop, the visual journal workshop also is a prerequisite to sign up for the Creative Immersion. Most of you have done that workshop with me before. It used to be called the Creative Sketchbook, and before that it was called Dreaming on Paper. But if you're an alumni of that, you've already met the prerequisite. Later today, if you go to visualjournalstudio.com and click on workshops in the menu, the Creative Immersion also includes the facilitator training. It also includes my advanced workshop called 7 Creative Powers, which is a real amazing creative self-coaching workshop. And it also will include creative practice, which we're going to be doing together over the holidays. So it's got tons of content in addition to all of our weekly classes. And the weekly live classes, we will be visual journaling together. It's usually a small group, a really intimate group. Sometimes there's 8 to 10 people on those live sessions. It really just depends. Those sessions are also recorded. And so you get lots of one-to-one interaction with me. You'll likely be interacting with a lot of other students who've done this before. And so why do I combine this into the creative immersion, the training, is because I think the best way to lead your own creativity workshops is, first of all, to have a really solid grounding in your own creativity. And when you're creating a visual journal almost every week, or how often you're doing it, you're going to have an amazing body of work in 6 months. You'll be absolutely stunned to see what you'll have even after a week. And so when you have that body of work in your visual journal that's just for you, in some pieces you may choose to share with other people, like I do. I don't share all of my visual journals, but I do share some of them. And you can see a lot more of what I'm doing if you've seen any of my YouTube videos. But that body of work, doing your own creative practice in your own visual journal, it's going to just inform your life and your creative work so much, so that when you're ready to teach workshops to other people, you have that confidence piece handled. You know what this is like for yourself. You've done it for yourself. You're actually prepared to answer any question people have, or any stuck place where they get in their creative process. You can meet that because you've gone through that yourself. I continue to keep a visual journal, even though I have taught it for a long time, because after all, coming full circle back to where we started, it's how I make art and feel better, for sure. Okay, so if people want to email me, yes, let me put that in the chat. You can write to hello@visualjournalstudio.com with questions. hello@visualjournalstudio.com. Cynthia, are you still here? Cynthia Collins? Oh, I wondered if you would come on, because you were excited to do this last week. If you would,
Oh, yeah.
You've been the Creative Immersion a bunch, you've like for years, and you've taken the facilitator training, you've done everything. And I just would love for you to speak into your experience. How is this helping you make art and feel better? And while you're answering, you can go ahead and unmute yourself now. I'm going to scroll through the chat for questions. Okay.
I'd like
and if anyone else wants to share, any other students, especially who want to share, please raise your hand or let me know somehow in the chat.
Okie dokie. First thing I want to say is that I also have taught a lot, and there's something that I have always wanted to have given back to me that I give to my students, and that is this phrase: the most important and valuable tool you will ever have is yourself. The most important and valuable tool you will ever have is yourself. And one of the things that Lisa has figured out is how to take a teaching format, a pretty standard teaching format, make it safe, make it inviting, make it a place that you can truly be the student and you can be your own teacher. What you get rather than instructions is support. And all the things she's talking about are support, every one of them. And she supports each of her students. One of the rules, for those of you who are not familiar, is that we don't comment on anyone's artwork. We don't say, oh, that's beautiful, that's lovely, whatever. What we do instead is we speak how it has affected us if we choose to do that. Yeah, I see you're lovely, whatever it is. And I get a real feeling of calmness and peace, which is different than, I really like the way you made the daisies. And, you know, I've known Lisa for, a little while now. And something that she has always done, and it's why I first thought she was totally wonderful, is she rescues street dogs in Mexico, which means, of course, that they live. And there's a very real sense in which the people who come to you, Lisa, are street artists. Maybe not in Mexico, but they need rescuing. And the single most important and valuable tool they will ever have is themselves. And because of that, your respect for that, for our own process, for our differences, as well as whatever commonalities may show up, is in every single thing she has ever taught, at least that I'm familiar with. And encouraging us to explore not only our thoughts, oh, I think this is so pretty, but our feelings. I feel a little uncomfortable. So how do I show that? And I had this notion in my head that if I was going to be an artist, I had to be an open book. And there's a whole lot of things that I simply consider personal. I consider something I don't particularly want to share. And the journal, which is the centerpiece of all this, is private unless I choose to share. No one has a right to get their little noses in my business, and that is my business. I think that one of the things that working with Lisa has done for me, and understand I've been doing this for more than 50 years. So I've been around the block once or twice. It is to do the things that feel good to me. And if they don't feel good, don't do them. So my art has refined, and the pieces I have felt guilty, believe this or not, about doing have become very beloved. And again, I got 50 years worth of stuff, and there's a lot there. But I have found a freedom and a truth and a beauty in what I do as artwork from Lisa. And thank you so much, Lisa, and all the great people that hang around here. Thank you. Are you back, babe? No, she's not back. Okay. Anybody got a hand up? Watch, Grace, I'm going to call on you. Come on. Tell us a little.
Hi, Cynthia. I love it when you speak because you really speak the truth. And Lisa has taught me so much, and you, Cynthia, when you've shared as well. And I think since I've been with Lisa now, I think it's been about 1.5 years now, she has given me a formula for life. All my life, I kept saying to myself, I need a formula for life. And I would be seeking it in my daily life. Well, when I discovered Lisa, that's what she did. She showed me, and you know, my journals that I've done with with Lisa, this is just one of them. It's a formula. I can go back and I can read my good things, my not so good things. I can add to them, like they're never really done. I don't know, Cynthia, if you feel the same way. They're never really done. You can always go back. And today's workshop, you know, I'm working on a dream right now, and I now have my little altar that's just come together in 1 hour. So this has been wonderful. And if Lisa, I don't know if Lisa's back yet, but she's just been such a mentor in my life, such a mentor. And that's why I keep coming back. Because I leave with something from Lisa. So that's what's important, is that I actually leave with a physical something that's magical. And Lisa says that all the time. It's magical. It totally is. Anyway, before I start rambling on even more, I'm going to let somebody else speak, and just thank you
Thank you,
Thank you.
Grace, and thank you, Cynthia. I'm sorry I cut out again. I see Maxine has her hand up, so why don't you come next, Maxine, and also Grace. I don't know if you're willing or able. You don't have to, but you said you completed your collage, and I don't know if you would be able to hold it up. Or yeah, okay. And Grace, if you unmute, the camera should be on you. Okay.
Does that work? So there's my collage, and underneath is my questions that we did today, and a little bit more my takeaways. I haven't really looked at that yet, but I've written them down, and then I have some more space to journal later on as I process through this. So that's mine.
Thank you
today.
so much. Thank you for sharing. I think it just really helps people get a sense of what the possibilities are. So if there are others who are willing to share theirs, that would be great. I'm muted. Maxine, are you able to get unmuted?
Yes, ma'am. It's good to see
Yay!
you. Well, after Grace and Cynthia spoke, I don't know what else I can say, but I've been taking Lisa's classes for 10 or 12 years now. I did the facilitator training, and it honestly, honest to God, it changed my entire life, the entire trajectory of my life. I might get a little emotional here. Because of your classes, Lisa, I was able to start calling myself an artist for the first time and really own that. I opened up my own studio. I'm selling art. I'm teaching classes. I'm doing all the things. And I never, ever would have been able to do any of that if I hadn't taken your classes. I love you so much. I feel like I know you. One of these days I'm going to meet you and I'm going to give you a big hug, because you changed my whole life. If anybody is on the fence about taking the facilitator training, man, I gotta say, it was the best investment that I've ever made in myself. The classes that I have taught, I've taught just, generic art classes, but I did teach a little bit of the creative journey process, and those students were amazed at the magic that they found also. So you're amazing, Lisa, and I just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Yeah.
Well, now I'm crying, Maxine. Thank you so much. And I think like the obvious thing to do is we all need to come to your studio and do a workshop in person.
Come on down, I'm in Florida.
Yep, I think we have to plan a road trip from Cynthia's and everything. Yeah. Thank you so much.
No.
Yeah.
Come here while the weather is, well, it's rotten today. I'm in the middle of Ohio. I'm in Cincinnati, roughly. And yeah, you just come on up here. We'll get it to the point that the weather isn't perfect. Then we can go to Maxine's. We've got a plan. Lisa, it's a good thing you're not a makeup fan. That was beautiful, Maxine. Thank you so much. Awesome. I hear some. Who else has a hand up? Let's see. Oh, okay. Alien, come on in. Come on.
Hey.
Hey.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I have a spread I can show you as well, because I had a little bit of fun this morning. So this is what I did, and I've got a flap here. It's still wet, so I'm not going to show you what it's like when it's shut. But the idea is I'm going to do a bit of writing and journaling over the side as well. So that's, and this little journal actually is a daily planner. So it's actually got basically every day I try and do a little bit of journaling. There's a little bit of like my to-dos, things I'm tracking. The other day we went up to Auckland on the train, so I grabbed the brochure from the train and put it in there, and that's a thing from the escape room that we did. So it's just kind of a memories thing, as well as keeping the creative practice going. So you can see I've got that side's done and that side's not yet. And yeah, I came to Lisa as a completely stuck artist about to completely give up and did creative practice, and still an artist. I did a couple of creative immersions with Lisa, which is amazing. And in fact, a lot of you, I recognize a lot of faces in here, which is really cool. All my creative journals, these are my visual journals, are my lifeline. This is what keeps me going. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if I hadn't done creative practice and then the immersions. So like everyone, Lisa, thank you so much. It's amazing to work with you. And I just want to say, if you're on the fence, do it. Thank you very much. That's me.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Cynthia, for helping with all the facilitation, and Grace. Ellen, I see your actual hand up.
It's such a thrill to hear each of you speak, and I I get all teary-eyed too. There's so much that is expressed that I wholly concur with, all of it. And yeah, I just as was just done with me, your journals. And I started it's about a year and a half ago, doing things that I never dreamed I would ever do. And I feel like I finally come home to myself, trusting myself, and learning to be gentle and gracious to myself. And the things that I used to tell my students after 23 years of teaching about blowing that creepy little thing that'd be on the shoulder going, "What are you doing that for? That's really ugly. You don't know how to draw. Why are you in this course?" I thought, I'm dealing with that now with myself, now that I'm retired. These courses helped me realize that something completely different about how to dive into who I am creatively as an artist. So yeah, and it doesn't even matter that I mean, there's some that are not complete, but it's beautiful that I have all the access to dive back into the facilitators course, to complete that, to complete the last 2 units of the Creative Immersion. There's a gold mine of stuff in this course of Creative Immersion. I look back on it and it's true. I mean, I look back on some of these pages and that's you. You thought you did all this, and look at all those amazing things that came out. I never would have dreamed it. It's anything. There's nothing that's impossible if you frame your head a certain way and your emotions a certain way, you rein yourself in. She's given us the tools to go back to the constructive versus destructive thinking, feeling, acting, sensing. They're brilliant, and I'm so glad they're documented in these books, because I can go back to them if I forget or have lost faith, and they're there for me again and again and again. They're brilliant, my little Bibles. Yeah. So thank you. Lisa,
Thank
bless
you so much, Ellen. Thank you.
Mwah.
Linda Rounds Nichols, if you're still here, try to come on. I know we were getting all disconnected there. She said she had to go, but in case you're still here, come on and unmute yourself. But I think this might be a good place to pause for now. Please send me an email at hello@visualjournalstudio.com for any questions or comments about this. keep an eye on your email, because if you're here, you're on my mailing list, because I sent the Zoom link out to everyone on the mailing list. So I'll follow up with you with the recording. We'll see what shape it's in. That probably won't be till early next week. I'm going to take the rest of the weekend off and let my internet be extraordinary now that I'm not using it. But probably Tuesday, I'll send you the recording and a follow-up email about what we did here. And I just want to thank all of you for showing up. At some point, there were 99 participants here, and I think that could have been the issue. I think my Zoom is limited to 100 people, which is like a great problem to have if there's more than 100 people showing up for a workshop. So yeah, this is my heart and my joy. I love sharing this work with people. I never get tired of hearing about your aha moments and your breakthroughs, and hearing about these impossible situations that we've got ourselves cornered into, and then how you kind of break free of those and get out of them. Okay. Thank you, everyone. So I really apologize for the Zoom and the Wi-Fi. It's totally out of my control. But thank you all for being here, and we'll follow up with you early next week with the recording and links. Yeah, my chat wasn't working properly, so I couldn't type in. I did type some things in there anyway. We shall see what happens. But hold your creative dream close to you. Go ahead and finish your altar inside your sketchbook. It's really important. It's really important. And go back and do some of the journal prompts, collect some wonderful images to put in there. And I look forward to seeing you in a class, whether it's online or in person in the future. And I just appreciate all of you. Thank you for participating. Thank you for bearing with me. And thank you for all of you, whether I've worked with you before or not. You're here, you're in my little corner of the universe, and it means so much to me. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And a big round of applause for all of the students who bravely shared their experience and their work. Thank you. I think their words are much more powerful than mine. Thank you.